Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is Zalits, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my second update to my personal global tier list. And I gotta say, wow, has a lot of stuff changed. Like in the last week and few days that we've been getting this new content. And as always, I always say to take this list that you're about to see here with a grain of salt, because remember that this is my tier list and is influenced by my own personal experiences with the characters that are shown on the screen, as well as some of the feedback about certain characters that a lot of my pals on the DFFOO forums have given me. If you haven't checked it out, you should, because there are a lot of useful resources that you can read from to get a better understanding of the game, especially if you're new, and even if you're a veteran and you're just looking for stuff to read up on. And we have a live chat where there's just a bunch of people in there that are always willing to help you out. We're always doing co-op and stuff like that, so come on by and say hi sometime, just chill. And anyways, let's just get on into the updates, because I know that's what you guys are here for, and it'll be right after this intro, so let's get this thing rolling.
But it's gonna be blue skies for you and I. We'll step out of the shadows and walk into the light. Yeah, it's gonna be blue skies for you and I.
Alright, let's get on into this thing. So what is the first thing that has changed here? So first of all, I promoted Cloud to SS tier. Reason being that he had the introduction of his new 35 CP, the Rune Blade, and it actually turned him into a real powerhouse. Like it not only gives him a new source of buffs, because he did not have any way to he didn't have any self buffs. So now this new Rune Blade gives him a small max bravery up with a small physical attack up, and it also gives him a small critical rate up as well for 5 turns after he uses a finishing touch. But the other thing on top of that is this weapon also gives him +1 uses for his finishing touch. So he gets 2 launches now, which, overall it just makes his utility that much more fantastic. He has paralysis, he has 2 launches, which, the launch itself isn't as potent as Cecil's, because Cecil has more launches obviously, but the fact that he has 2 now gives him that much more utility over Cecil, because Cecil has no way to dump the excess bravery except with HP attacking, and we know that the HP attack, he doesn't really get anything off of that. So Cecil stays in S tier, but Cloud moves up to SS tier because he just brings so much to the table. He's a fantastic unit overall. And like I was saying with the finishing touch, like the finishing touch is not only for him. It's a damage dump for his teammates. That's the most useful part about it. His teammates can dump and just continue to do more damage, and that's just a fantastic extra ability to have for him as a unit going forward. So anyways, that's the reason why I put Cloud up into SS tier. His Rune Blade made him that much stronger, and it pushed him over that limit, and now he's just a complete powerhouse, because that max bravery up gives him so much extra bravery, so much extra damage. It's so good. Like he's such a good character now. I mean, he always was, but now it's just even more so than before. So let's move on. The next promotion, which I'm sure it was pretty obvious that it was coming. Aerith, I promoted Aerith to SS tier. Now, after a lot of really careful testing, I came to this decision because in my previous update, I had Aerith at S tier because she had just been released recently, and I did not have enough material to actually cover her properly. But now that I have seen her in multiple co-ops, now that I've played with her and I've done a whole bunch of different things with Aerith, I realized that she's just way too powerful for me to put her in S tier. She's just too strong. Her kit is just way too powerful to be an S tier character. Like, she can carry your team just as hard as Eiko can, and even more for a longer period of time. I'd even argue that she's probably stronger than Eiko is at this point, just because she doesn't have to suffer from the elemental disadvantages that Eiko does. Like, if an enemy has a resistance to light or to light damage, Eiko's kind of like, she's kind of shafted there, because her smites are not going to give as much back to the team, whereas Aerith just has normal magic attacks. Where if the enemy has a resistance to magic attacks, then yes, Aerith will suffer there. But then again, so will Eiko, so it doesn't really matter. Aerith still gets the overall better end of the stick overall, and that's the conclusion that I came to. I mean, it should have been. It was pretty obvious, obviously. You know, I probably should have came to that conclusion a long time ago, but you know, I just wanted to be fair to the entire cast. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't want to put her there unjustly. I kind of just put her there because I just didn't have enough information about her. So with the right setups, like Aerith can just be such a strong unit for such a strong bravery battery, and she helps out a lot of these new units that came out. So it's like Sarah, like, you know, because Aerith doesn't give an exponentially high amount of max bravery, or she doesn't give an exponentially high amount of bravery back. I mean, she can, and she does, like, you know, she does give a lot back, but it's not overbearing sometimes, kind of like how Eiko is, where it's like, you know, sometimes she can give back like 5k 6k on like a burst heal, or a burst smite, and it's just like, it's overbearing, you know, your overflow and stuff like that. But Aerith kind of just has like that perfect tipping point where it's like a 3k, or, you know, maybe like a 4k ish, somewhere around there. And it works out perfectly for characters like Sarah, who use their Moonlight ability, and I'll get to her in a second here, who use their Moonlight ability, and it's kind of like a, you know, like a multiplier for the bravery for the whole team. So it's kind of just pushing everybody forward that much faster. Like, you know, combinations like Aerith and Sarah are very interesting. They're really good units to bring together, and it's like, you know, I've been testing stuff out, and, you know, she just has so much potential on top of all her other stuff, like, you know, her healing, her revive, everything. Aerith is just a fantastic unit. So I think that this promotion was definitely justified, and I probably should have done it sooner, but I just wanted to be fair. I did not have enough information on Aerith to justify putting her in SS tier in my last video, but now I do. So hopefully we'll continue like this, and we'll see where she goes from here. But anyways, let's move on to Papalymo. Now, yes, a lot of people are probably gonna be like, yeah, I told you so, I told you so. But yes, Papalymo, I kind of just, like, you know, had to sit down and really say, like, yes, you know, Papalymo is just that powerful. He is a monster. And I mean, we all know this, and you guys are probably just pointing and laughing at me at this point, because, you know, you guys have been telling me, like, you know, Papalymo belongs in SS tier, and I was just kind of denying it, you know, in the back of my head. Like, I like the guy, I like the character, have his gear and everything like that, but I didn't feel like he was potent enough to be an SS tier. But, you know, after reevaluating him just the same way that I did for Aerith, I realized, like, you know, it was being really, really unfair to the character himself. Like, Papalymo has a lot of damage potential, and that is something that not many other characters have. Like, Papalymo can just go in there and completely destroy anything. But then again, he also has the potential to be able to prolong the fights. Like, if he has to prolong, he can prolong, because his buffs just last for a very long period of time, and he just has that, you know, that destructive power to continue bursting down you know, the enemies that you're encountering in these missions, in these lost chapters everywhere, co-ops, anything. So, you know, it's not, I don't really have much more to say to that. Like, I kind of just reevaluated him as a character as a whole, and his damage potential is just way too high to be S tier compared to most of the other S tier characters. Like, his damage potential is through the roof, and I feel like that was definitely justified. And I you know, I know that I probably should have put him up there a lot sooner, but, you know, hey, I just you know, I guess I just wasn't being fair enough to him. But that's where he is now, and I feel like he's definitely SS tier viable, or, you know, SS tier proof. So yeah, or whatever, you know what I'm trying to say. Like, he's SS tier. I realize that. So hey, but moving on, let's go to S tier, because we're done with the SS tier changes. So what has changed in S tier? Well, first of all, we got 3 new characters within this last, not 3, we got 4 new characters, but one of them is not one of the high tier units, and it's surprising, but I have to say, Garnet, Sarah, and Edgar have all been added to S tier, and a lot of you are probably saying, like, whoa, they are brand new, why are they in S tier? These 3 characters have been, you know, amazing. They have just been crazy good, and, like, I find myself using them all the time for anything. And, you know, here I'll just talk about them here in a second. So, but let's just go in order. So, Garnet. Okay, so I added Garnet to S tier just for a lot of reasons, actually. Like, you know, she has a lot of utility that she gives to the party. Like, not too much utility, but she gives you some utility that a lot of other characters don't give to their party, and that's what makes her so good. So, with her Water Glint ability, she provides her team with a 40% regen buff, and this is similar to the way that Ramza does his what is it, his shouts, or no, I think it's galvanized. The same way that he uses galvanized and it's just a bravery regen. However, I do believe that hers is stronger than Rams's, because because I don't remember Rams's bravery regen giving back as much as I've seen Garnet's do. So with that as well, she can also self-buff herself for a 30% increase in max bravery. That is a lot, and there are very few characters that actually have that amount. Some notable mentions that I can even think of are like Vincent and Prish. Like, they're like the only ones that can actually like go over that. I think theirs is like 40% or something like that. But they're pretty much there, and they're pretty even. But Garnet's true power lies in the ability to AoE. So her two abilities are both single target. However, when she uses them, like when she uses her Water Glint, it turns her bravery attack into a bravery attack plus that becomes an AoE bravery attack that does water damage. And on top of that, her Water Glint also puts an imperil for the target to take 20% more water damage. So not only if there's more than 2 or 3 enemies, she's gonna be doing a massive amount of damage. And it's the same thing with her Thunder one. I can't think of the name off the top of my head because I can't think of it. But you guys know what I'm talking about. So she does her Thunder attack and her Water attack, and both of them reduce the enemy's resistance to their respective ability. So, and then both abilities also give her bravery attack, that same element. So, the Water Glint will give, water bravery attack, and the Thunder ability will give her a Thunder bravery attack. So it's just, it just gives her a substantially, it just gives her a substantial boost to damage output. Like, it's crazy. Like she can cap out within just one bravery attack into a bravery plus HP attack. Now that's only really if there's more than one enemy on the field that she can do that. But even for single target, she still does a lot of damage, and it's so she's just really good overall. But then, like I said before, like, she does suffer on single target fights, mostly because her abilities don't do, or her bravery attack pluses don't do that much damage to single targets. They were really made to be used on a lot of enemies. So that's something to remember about her. But she's still very, very good. With her having a very simple rotation of just using one of her abilities and just bravery attacking, because her buffs also last for a decent amount of time. I think they last for 5 turns, if I'm not mistaken, something like that, for 4 or 5 turns, and they just last for so long, and she can just continue to pump out damage while breaking and dealing with while breaking and controlling the enemies that you're facing. She just has a lot of potential and a lot of utility to bring to the team, and that's why I put her in S tier. She's very strong. Don't underestimate her. A lot of people have been saying like she hits really weak, but that's because they don't realize what she's truly there for. She's not there to be a Papalymo with just 2 different elements. Like, she has a lot more to offer than Papalymo. However, she's not as strong as Papalymo, and that's the reason why I cannot put her in SS tier. The Papalymo's is Papalymo's in SS tier because he's just that he just does so much damage that it's you have to respect it. But Garnet doesn't have that level of potency with her damage, but she does have a lot of utility, and that's why she's an S tier. Moving on, we also got another new character, Sarah, the younger sister of Lightning, and she is definitely one of the cutest girls that we've seen or that I've seen in Final Fantasy history. So, hey, hate me if you want, I have to say it. Sarah is one of the most adorable characters. There, I said it. All right, moving on. And you might be asking why I put Sarah in S tier. So she is a decent debuffer. Okay, so she uses poison, and initially I thought to myself, like, why give her poison? And she also inflicts max bravery down 1, but it's like, why poison? Like, why? It's kind of like a thing where she just has it to pretty much to make her passives work, because she has a lot of passives that require debuffs to be on the target, and that's pretty much why she has that. But the wound itself, it does a lot of damage. Like, the initial hit does a lot of damage. So don't get it twisted. Like, she does a lot of damage with her wound, but where she really makes her money is where is her is with her Moonlight ability. Her Moonlight, with her 35 CP, which, you know, all these characters except for Irvine, which we'll talk about in a little bit, got their 35 CP. So it gives her the ability. It's basically like a her Moonlight. Let me just explain a little bit of what Moonlight is. Think of it as like a free energy, kind of, because, you know, like, it's a little bit weaker because the downs is like a times 1.5, but, you know, Sarah's is a times 1.3, so it's a 30% boost to current bravery, and is also increased by her current attack. So you use this, and what's crazy about this is with her 35 CP, it provides that same free energy effect except for the entire party. So basically she thrives with party members that have a high amount of max bravery, or even a party member that can, you know, increase, or, you know, bravery battery a little bit but not too much. She thrives in that environment, and her Moonlight becomes so much more potent when she's in those situations, and where not situations, but party makeups. And on top of that, she also provides a 20% max bravery buff to the entire team. So for a lot of characters like Tidus, who don't have that innate, you know, max bravery buffing potential, you know, that's a very powerful buff to have. You know, it makes other characters much more viable because of that little tiny extra increase of max bravery. And that's why I'm saying, like, Sarah can fit onto almost any team and thrive because of the things that she does. And it's just an amazing combination to bring her along with. And the only thing that I can really say about her that is bad is the fact that her buffs / debuffs don't last for very long. Each one, you know, each one of her debuffs or each one of her buffs only lasts for 3 turns, and that's, you know, it's not too bad, but, you know, it's not very much to work with. It's very similar to Lightning, where you have to pretty much use it. You know, you only have like 1 turn in between, and then you have to use, you know, the ability again to keep it up and maintained. So with her having a lot of speed, you have to be very careful of, you know, using her abilities too often, because you can very easily go bankrupt on your ability uses when using her, because she's very similar to Lightning with the speed factor. Like, you know, she can steal out turns, and, you know, it's very common for you to run out of abilities, especially on a longer fight, so you just have to moderate how you use her. But overall, she's a very fantastic character to bring, and she fits onto almost any team properly. Even onto farming teams she can fit properly because of the max bravery up that she gives. So that's the reasons why I put her into S tier. Moving on, our next new character, Bob the Builder here. No, I'm just kidding. It's Edgar. Alright, so we got Edgar here. Edgar has some seriously lethal damage potential with his crossbow ability. Like, if you thought that Garnet had some really crazy, like, AoE damage potential, Edgar is like another character that people sleep on. Like, they think that he's only good against machine types, but no. Edgar is absolutely amazing against AoE targets. Like, you know, not only because, you know, not because he does a lot of damage to machines, but it's because it's a ranged attack. Like, you know, it's very viable to use against, like, bird type, or not bird type, but flying type enemies. And the amount of AoE damage that it does is actually just phenomenal. Like, you know, I've seen it do, like, you know, up to 2,500 damage on a base hit. It's kind of crazy. Like, you know, depending on how good you actually build them up with artifacts and stuff like that. Not only is it good for just, you know, machines and flying enemies as well as AoEing, but it gives him some crazy strong self buffs as well. Like, he gets a 20% speed up and max bravery up from this ability as well. And his money maker here is his drill, his power drill. This ability, okay, this thing is so strong, but, like, Edgar is so misunderstood. Okay, so a lot of people think that Edgar does, like, no damage because, you know, his drill just doesn't do very much damage at all. But what they don't understand is that you have to use drill 1 time on an enemy and make sure that enemy has the debuff that it provides, as well as the self buffs, to make him really shine, as well as having him above 50% max bravery. Like, that's like basically between 51% and 100% is where he makes his money. Like, his drill ability gives him a 30% attack buff, as well as inflicting a 30% defense down. So he's getting so much extra damage from his drill, but it has to, like, you know, you have to have all these things lined up. Like, the first drill is always going to be weak, but after that first drill, he's going to be, like, hitting enemies and bosses like it's gonna be crazy. Like I mean, he's pretty much. I compare him to like a Titus in terms of damage. Like he does, I think it's 2 hits. His drill does 2 hit. It's a 2 hit bravery attack that does, and then with the HP attack as well. But the damage, like the damage I can compare to is probably like Titus slash combo. Although I think Titus is a little bit stronger than he is, so he definitely does a little bit more damage than that. But Edgar can put out some serious hurting. But the only thing that is his downside that I kind of noticed myself is that, you know, he's kind of just a jack of all trades. You know, he has a little bit of everything, but he's not perfect at anything as well. Like, you know, he has his bravery plus HP attacks, he has his AoE, he has, you know, debuffs, he has he has his machine killer bonus that he from most of his passives, but he doesn't excel in anything like certain characters like Papalymo, where it's like he just is there for straight up damage. Like, no, Edgar is just, he's all around, he's all over the place, but that does not mean that he's bad. Edgar is a very strong character, and you take him into co-op, like, you know, taking him into co-op for Garnet, I've taken him into co-op for Aura and all that. He excels everywhere so far that I've used him in, and he's just a fantastic unit as well overall from the new characters that we've gotten. He's just been, him, Garnet, and Sarah have all been blessings to use for me. So that's why I put him into S tier. And also, just another thing to add, like, you know, you have to really, like, to make him shine, like, you really have to bring a team that is able to make his kit shine. Like, you know, you have to build around him in a way. Like, you know, he is the Sid, he is a Sid type character, but you have to be a Sid for him. And, you know, build around what he needs, what his weaknesses are, to make him stronger as a whole. So, you know, you have to have those. You have to have a you know, a bravery battery that can support him. You have to have buffers that can support him. So it's, you know, it's a lot of stuff. But, you know, Edgar is overall a very, very good unit to have. Very solid, very good overall. S tier, and I don't deny that fact at all. Like, he's just that good. Another change to S tier. Moving on, I should say. Another change that I had here is that I demoted Seymour to A tier. Alright, so let's move on to A tier. What happened? What changed in A tier? So I promoted Lion because, and some of you are probably wondering, like, dude, what's going on with Lion? Why is Lion going up? It's like, okay, look. I every time I look at this character, I just keep finding more and more things that are good about this character, and, you know, more and more people keep telling me that, you know, Lion is very underrated. Lion is very, very good, and I agree. Like, I've been looking at her, I've been doing some testing. Lion's very good. The only thing that's bad about her, the only thing that's holding her back really is just that she doesn't have a bravery plus HP attack. Her damage output is amazing. Like, you know, she can hit like 6Ks with her critical hits. Not with both of her abilities, but with one ability she can definitely hit up for like 3-4K. With her second ability, she's hitting for like 6,000 to 6.5. It's crazy. Like, the amount of damage that she can get out is just absolutely insane. And her damage, or not her damage, but her max bravery is actually pretty high compared to a lot of the characters. So, you know, you cannot deny the fact that she's good, especially if you bring her along with like a bravery battery. Which, one of the things that really opened my eyes to this was that I realized, like, if I look at all the characters that are in A tier, all these characters, as long as you have some kind of bravery battery, they're all viable in A tier. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they all have very high max bravery. As long as you bring a bravery battery along, you'll be just fine. And, you know, Lion fits into that category as well, and she also hits like a truck. So we have characters like Terra. Like, Terra was pretty much the one that opened my eyes there. I realized, like, you know, I have Terra in A tier, and she is no better than Lion. Like, you know, Lion could pretty much keep up with her damage. I mean, for now anyways, she can keep up with her damage, and they both take a decent amount of turns before they can actually do an HP attack. But if you play them with a bravery battery, like, they're both you know, very potent characters to bring along because their max bravery is very high. So that's one of the biggest changes, or one of the biggest reasons why I put her into A tier. Like, you know, she's just a great unit. I didn't give her enough credit where credit was due, and that's why I decided to move her into A tier. She's very strong, guys. If you look into her stuff and you really test her out for yourself, she is a very good unit to have. Not S tier viable, but she's definitely capable enough to be an A tier. for those reasons that I stated before. Moving on, Seymour, unfortunately, I had to remove from S tier, mostly because like I like the I don't really like Seymour as a character. I hate Seymour as a character, but you know, the way he plays in this game, I should say, like I like the way that he plays in this game. However, he just isn't. I don't feel like his potential is. I feel like I overvalued him, so I had to rearrange where he fit onto the tier list, and I feel like A tier is more where he belongs. And some of you are probably wondering, like, oh, why is Seymour moved down to A tier but not Tidus? Well, let me tell you, like, Tidus just has far more. He has far more potential, in my opinion, than Seymour does. And this is not just because I like Tidus as a character. You know, it's not just because he's my favorite character, or you know, it has nothing to do with that. Tidus just has more turns. He like, let's be honest, his debuffs, like, sure, Seymour has a stronger set of debuffs because of his weapons, but because Seymour doesn't have the speed down, like, the speed down is actually a very powerful debuff that Seymour doesn't have. And when you compare Max Bravery down to the speed down, like, speed down wins out over Max Bravery because it's just more potent overall. Like, you know, you can end up getting like 5-6 extra turns, or from 3. Like, let's just say, you know, you have your opening lineup and it's like, you know, 3 characters, like your initial 3. On the next turn, when you use slash combo and you put that speed or the slow on the enemy, like, that can literally make your next set of turns go from 3 to like 5 easily, just because of that one slow that you put on the target. Seymour can't do that. And on top of that, like I said, Tidus has more turns. He's faster overall as a character. He has more ability uses. And it's just overall more stylish. Like, come on, like, Tidus is just way better, in my opinion, than Seymour is. And those are just facts. Like, you know, maybe Tidus may not have as much max bravery as Seymour, but Tidus can definitely more reliably hit his caps and do a substantially higher amount of damage than Seymour can. Because I know some of you guys I know most of you guys must have seen, like, you know, like, if you play Seymour and you start to realize, like, you know, you have to use Lance of Destruction. If you don't have a debuffer on your another debuffer on your team, you have to use Lance of Destruction the first time, and it just hits like a wet noodle, does no damage because he doesn't have any debuffs up on the target, and it sucks. He doesn't do any damage at all, and it's a horrible situation to be in. But that's like that's the biggest reason. Like, Seymour can take a very long time to ramp up, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I had to move him down to A tier. I felt like he just wasn't making the cut anymore in S tier, so had to move him down. Moving on, I demoted Hope and Y'shtola, or Y'shtola, however you pronounce that, to B tier, and I'll be talking about that in just a second. In B tier, what changed? Like I just said, I moved Hope and Y'shtola, and it was kind of difficult for me to do this because I felt like, you know, these characters really deserve to be in A tier, but after careful evaluation, again, like, I just could not keep them there, mostly because Hope, like, he's a very defensive character, but it just, the buffs that he gives out are just not enough with the amount of, like, he gives a good amount of max bravery. Like, he's a decent battery, but it's just not enough to compare him to the likes of, like, you know, Eiko, Aerith, Sarah, or anything like that. Like, they just provide so much more than he can overall. And it's kind of unfortunate, but I don't think that this is the right time for him to shine just yet. Like, don't get me wrong, like, he still provides, like, the best defensive capabilities in the game, but we just don't have a need for his abilities just yet. So, I mean, if you build him up and you have him, definitely keep him around, because he's probably going to be a lot better going into the future when content gets a lot more difficult. But right now, he's just not offensive enough to be in A tier or above. He's just not cutting it. So, and then for Y'shtola, it's very similar to his to Hope's situation, except for her, the reasons are a lot more glaring. Like, you know, she requires way too much ramp up. The only time that she really gets the most benefit out of her bravery battery is during a summon, which, you know, if you're looking at it objectively, you know, a summon could take up to 30 turns, especially, well, if you're using, especially with these most recent calls where it takes, like, you know, the longer summons to deal with the enemies. You know, you're looking at 30 turns without using a bravery battery, where you're just using stone, and it's like, okay, stone, like that just delays an enemy. But then overall, like, you only have 4 uses of her bravery battery, and then what? And then she's useless. Where it's just the other characters do their jobs better. That like Hope and Ishtola are just far too weak to be in, like, I mean, they're not extremely weak, but they're just not good enough to be in A tier, in my opinion. You know, and this is coming from myself and a bunch of other members who have given me their thoughts and opinions on this, and I have done extensive testing on both of these characters, so I feel like it's justified to put them in B tier, mostly because of those reasons that I stated. Let's move on to the next tier. Let's move on to C tier. So we also, one of the newer characters that we just got as well was Irvine, the cowboy from Final Fantasy VIII, and let's talk about him, because Irvine was set up to fail. I feel like he was just set up to fail right off the start. Maybe if he would have had his 35 CP, he would have been a lot better right now. But his kit is just not. It's just not that good. Like he's like I think the best way I can describe him is to compare him to Auron, because that's pretty much what he is. He's pretty much the ranged Auron character that we've gotten. So first of all, his first ability is canister shot, and it's just not that great. Okay guys, it's a 3-hit bravery attack that inflicts speed down 1 and gives him a small max bravery up for 4 turns. His second ability, scatter shot, this is the one that's like Auron. This is the one that it's a 2-hit AoE plus bravery plus HP attack, which is not bad. Okay, this ability is not that bad, especially if you're trying to speed clear, or if if you're just farming for stuff. This can actually come in very handy. But again, it has the same exact issues that Auron has with his Purgatory, where it has a low chance to apply range resistance down debuff, and it's just like, why do you do this? Like, I understand that the debuff is very strong and it makes ranged characters hit like a truck, but it's just like, why not just have it, apply the debuff or something like that? But it probably is just because later on we'll get a 35 CP that makes it hit all the time. So I mean, I guess it makes up for it, but right now it's going to miss a majority of the time. So he's just not that good right now. But going into the future, he could definitely see some more use. But right now, I would definitely just recommend, if you're looking for somebody to speed farm easier with, he's definitely your guy. He can definitely bravery plus HP attack, but it's not that amazing. So don't expect too much out of it. But he's just not that great, guys. He only really has any potential during AoE fights where he can hit multiple targets at once, and even then it's just not that impressive. So that's Irvine in a nutshell. He's just not that amazing. So moving on to the other characters that I decided to touch on, with we actually got some changes to Galif, and Galif, he's not that bad. He's still, I still don't like to use him very much. Like I just don't like using tanks in general. But Galif has a few buffs and a few quality of life changes that have made him a little bit better overall. And the other character that I also moved up, just because I felt like I was really harsh towards him. He's not that bad, guys. He's really not that bad. But Sabin, I promoted him to C tier as well. I mean, his niche is he's stronger against Ghost, much like his brother Edgar, who is very strong against machines. However, Edgar got the better end of the stick, and he just does a lot more damage overall. But Sabin isn't the worst character in the game. Like there's no reason for him to be in D tier, especially since he has his 35 CP. He's definitely still a decent character to bring along, but he's nothing so spectacular that I have to put him any higher than that. But he definitely has his moments to shine. So I felt like I was being a little bit too rough on him, but he's definitely C tier viable. So. And on top of that, we also got some changes to Saz, and he got some very, very good quality of life changes. And Saz has always been triple S tier, so I mean he's gonna stay there. He's gonna stay in his legendary status mode. So I mean, there's not much to say there. But Saz has definitely gotten some buffs, and once his 35 CP rolls around, he'll become even more godly than he already is. So Alright, well that's going to wrap things up for this tier list update. I wanted to get this out to you guys a bit earlier than normal because I know that we have the Summerfest coming up here tomorrow night. And since we've already gotten so much in such a short period of time, I didn't want to overload you guys with the changes that were being made or that I was making to this tier list. So these were just the compiled ones that I have made so far. And you know, things are definitely going to continue to change as time goes on, especially with this new festival that's coming up, that's supposed to be bringing out a whole bunch of different stuff, or a whole bunch of new stuff anyways. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the weekend. I'm not sure if I'm going to post a video tomorrow, but I definitely will make something for the festivities that we have. So yeah, until next time, bye guys.